You can win every case, close every deal, own the house on the hill and the car everyone envies, and still collapse from the inside out. That is not a hypothetical. That is a Tuesday for millions of people. They wake up exhausted. They perform all day. They come home and they feel nothing. Not sadness exactly. Something quieter. Something worse. The feeling that your own life is happening to you on a schedule someone else wrote. There's a man named Julian Mantle, a litigation attorney, millions of dollars in the bank, a private jet, a mansion with a home theater bigger than most people's apartments, a red Ferrari parked out front, like a trophy for a war he was still fighting. And one afternoon, in the middle of a trial, in front of a packed courtroom, his heart simply stopped believing his own excuses. He collapsed, right there, between the objection and the verdict. He survived, but something in him did not want to go back to the man he had been. So, he sold the mansion, he sold the jet, he sold the Ferrari, and he disappeared into the Himalayas to find monks who, according to legend, had discovered something no law degree ever taught him: how to actually live. Here's the trap almost nobody sees coming. Western culture teaches us to measure a life by its inventory, the title on the door, the number in the account, the car in the driveway. Add enough of these together, we're told, and happiness arrives as a kind of receipt. Julian Mantle had the full inventory, and the inventory nearly killed him. This is the first truth the book forces you to sit with. Success and fulfillment are not the same transaction. You can achieve the first and be bankrupt in the second. In fact, chasing the first too aggressively is often exactly what bankrupts the second. Think about it this way: a career is like a beautifully built house with no address. Impressive from the outside. But if nobody, including you, can actually find their way home inside it, what was it for? The monks Julian meets in the Himalayas don't reject ambition. They reject unconscious ambition, the kind where you're running so fast toward more that you never once ask, more of what and for whom? Modern burnout follows a pattern almost every high performer recognizes. First, achievement feels euphoric. Then, it feels expected. Then, it feels like the only thing keeping the walls from closing in. By the time Julian collapsed in that courtroom, he wasn't chasing success anymore. Success was chasing him, and he didn't know how to stop running. Take out a piece of paper tonight and draw 2 columns. In the first column, list everything you currently measure your life by: income, title, followers, square footage, whatever comes to mind. In the second column, for each item, write one honest sentence. Does this actually make me feel alive, or does it just make me look successful? You are not doing this exercise to quit your job tomorrow. You are doing it to separate the goals that are genuinely yours from the goals you inherited from a culture that profits from your exhaustion. That distinction alone will change every decision you make from here forward. Picture a lush, beautiful garden. The soil is rich, the air is clear, and the potential is limitless. Now, imagine allowing people to walk through it, throwing trash over the fence every single day. You would never allow that. You would build a wall. You would protect it. Yet, most of us do exactly that with our minds. We protect our houses, we protect our cars, but we leave the gates to our minds wide open. We let toxic news, office gossip, and endless digital noise pollute the most valuable real estate we own. The sages Julian met in the mountains taught him a fundamental law. The mind is a wonderful servant, but a terrible master. If you do not consciously plant the seeds you want, weeds will grow by default. Anxiety, self-doubt, and fatigue are not random. They are the weeds of an unguarded mind. Your life does not look the way it does because of your circumstances. It looks that way because of your thoughts. The outer world is simply a mirror of the inner world. When you master your mind, you master your life. Here is the practical strategy from the sages, the opposition thinking technique. The mind can only hold one thought at a time. It is a biological rule. Whenever a negative, draining thought enters your mind, you must immediately replace it with its exact opposite. If you think, "I am too tired to do this," force your mind to focus on a memory of a time you felt unstoppable. Do not fight the negative thought. Just crowd it out. Give the garden no room for the weed to breathe. The sages shared a third visual with Julian, a towering crimson lighthouse standing on the edge of a dark ocean. In life, most people are like shipwrecks, tossed around by every wave of circumstance. They react to crises. They jump from emergency to emergency because they have no fixed point to guide them. The lighthouse represents purpose. The purpose of life is a life of purpose. When you know exactly what you want your life to stand for, the storms of life lose their power over you. You stop drifting and you start steering. Here is the paradox of success that Julian learned. Happiness and wealth cannot be pursued directly. They are always the subproducts of dedicating yourself to a purpose larger than yourself. When you focus entirely on offering value to the world, success chases you, not the other way around. The practical strategy from the mountains is simple, but incredibly strict. Define your dharma. Dharma is the Sanskrit word for your soul's purpose. To find it, you must sit in a quiet room tonight with nothing but a pen and write down exactly what you would do with your days. If money were no longer an issue, do not leave your purpose in your head. The sages review their goals every single morning before the world can tell them who to be. If you do not design your own destiny, someone else will design it for you. The next symbol the sages showed Julian was a massive 900-pound sumo wrestler walking through the garden. In the tradition of the East, the sumo wrestler represents kaizen, the Japanese word for continuous and never-ending improvement. It is the realization that mastering yourself is the ultimate victory. Most people try to change their lives by changing their external world. They change jobs, they change partners, they change cities. But if you do not change your character, you simply carry the same old patterns into a brand new room. True strength is built from the inside out. The practical strategy for Kaizen is the hour of silence. Every single day, spend 60 minutes entirely alone, with no phone, no book, and no distractions. Sit with your thoughts. Face the discomfort. The man who cannot sit quietly in a room alone will always be a slave to his environment. As the sumo wrestler walked, Julian noticed he was wearing nothing but a thin, twisted wire cable around his waist. This cable represents the power of discipline. A single thread of wire is fragile and breaks under the slightest pressure. But when you weave 100 threads together, the cable becomes unbreakable. Self-discipline is exactly like that cable. It is not built by doing one massive, heroic act. It is built by weaving tiny, repetitive acts of willpower into your daily routine. Waking up when your alarm goes off, instead of hitting snooze. Choosing the difficult conversation over the comfortable silence. Every small victory adds a thread to your cable. The modern world views discipline as a prison. They think it robs them of freedom. But the sages taught Julian the exact opposite. Discipline is the only path to real freedom. The undisciplined man is not free. He is simply a puppet, controlled by his moods, his appetites, and his immediate desires. To build your discipline cable rapidly, try the vow of silence. For just 1 hour tomorrow, do not speak a single word. Answer questions with a nod if you must, but do not talk. This forces your mind to think before it reacts, putting you back in the driver's seat of your own impulses. Suddenly, the sumo wrestler collapsed to the ground, and out of his pocket rolled a heavy, golden stopwatch. This stopwatch represents your most precious and most mismanaged resource: time. Most people live as if they have an infinite bank account of days. They don't. Time is the great equalizer. The billionaire and the beggar both get the exact same 24 hours every single morning. The only difference is how they spend it. Busyness is not the same as productivity. Most people are busy being busy, but they are moving nowhere. The sages taught Julian that the secret to mastering time is ruthlessness. You must learn to say no to the minor things, so you can say yes to the major things. Every time you let someone steal your time, you are letting them steal a piece of your life. Here is the time strategy of the mountains, the deathbed test. Whenever you are about to waste 2 hours scrolling or agreeing to a meeting that could have been an email, ask yourself, if this were my last week on Earth, would I spend my hours doing this? If the answer is no, walk away. Protect your clock. As the stopwatch stopped ticking, the air filled with the scent of fresh, yellow roses. These roses represent the ultimate virtue of the sages: altruism. The realization that the highest level of success is not what you gather, but what you give back. There is an old Chinese proverb the monks love to repeat: a little fragrance always clings to the hand that gives you the rose. When you focus entirely on improving the lives of others, your own life automatically elevates. Kindness is not a weakness. It is the ultimate expression of internal abundance. The practical strategy for the roses is the daily act of grace. Before you go to sleep tonight, you must perform one small, unannounced act of kindness for another human being. Send an encouraging text. Pay for a stranger's coffee. Do it quietly. Do it without expecting anything in return. The final symbol in the garden was a path made of millions of tiny, glittering diamonds. This path represents the ultimate destination, the present. Most humans live in a state of chronological exile. They are either trapped mourning the past or anxious about securing the future. We tell ourselves, I will be happy when I get the promotion, when I pay off the house, when I reach the weekend. But the weekend always ends. The promotion just brings a bigger workload. If you cannot find joy in the climb, you will never find it at the summit. The diamonds are all around you, right now. The sound of your children laughing, the warmth of your morning coffee, the fact that your lungs are working perfectly in this exact second. Happiness is not a place you arrive at. It is a state of mind you pack for the journey. The final strategy of the monks is the 3 gratitudes practice. The moment your feet touch the floor tomorrow morning, name 3 specific things you are grateful for. Not global concepts, but tiny, immediate things. Train your eyes to see the diamonds in the dust of your everyday routine. Julian Mantle did not return to his courtroom. He became a teacher. He realized that the Ferrari was just a heavy box of metal compared to the freedom of a mastered mind. The garden, the sumo wrestler, the cable, and the diamonds are not just symbols in a book. They are the blueprint for your own awakening. Build your wall, protect your garden, and start living today.